So with flake, we talked about the color. When you do a flake floor, like you got to look at your color and decide what base is going to work. You've got a lot to choose from. I just choose some earth tone base. True, this color is slightly different than this, but if it happened to be any peekaboo stuff, this is going to blend and it just adds another tone to it. Most people will look for something that matches one of those exact, which you can do. I just prefer, because there's 5 colors in this, a peekaboo of a 6 color doesn't matter, it's a blend.
And if anybody's already felt the bubbles, I mean, there's quite a few imperfections in this floor. This floor is a lot more forgiving than that one. So not to say that that's okay, but you can get away with a lot more with a flake. What color is that?
This is hazelnut.
Hazelnut? It's pumpkin spice.
What material is this?
Polyaspartic. Yeah, and there's no reason you can't.
It's from the home collection, the fall home collection.
You're fine with what you're worried about your Thanksgiving concrete. Right. This is just about speed.
Right.
So if you can handle it, but if you're doing a pre-car garage with Polyaspartic, you better really know what you're doing.
Really
fast. Unless you're going to do section by section, you know, a third, a third.
Yeah.
Which then again, you're doing everything 3 times. It's work. Now what some will do with their Polyaspartic for their broadcast coat, but then when they come back, they'll do like a aliphatic urethane for a top coat because it's a little bit better, and they tell the person 24 hours, so it's not a 1 day,
right?
But they were able to go ahead and do the media broadcast and the cleanup in the 1 day for that.
The only thing you got to worry about though about aliphatic urethane is make sure you know the mill thickness it can go without foaming or having any issues, because
very moisture sensitive too.
The flake coat is going to require at least 12 mils because of the variation in height of the chip, the flake. Your coat really can't go on any thinner than probably 10 to 12 mils. And if your top coat is sensitive to mill thickness and you're over that, you could get foam.
Aliphatic urethanes, though they're probably the supreme as far as their toughness, abrasion, chemical, they're probably the most finicky to work with.
Yeah, this I don't like the epoxy polyaspartic. I was warned about it because of how thin the material is. It doesn't hold it.
Instead of a 3/8.
Yeah. Right. Just a regular polyester.
But we barely used enough material also.
But it doesn't hold the material, so it really...
So almost a gauge rake would be better.
Do you want me to hit it one more time? I don't know. I put more material here if you're going to drop me anymore. Because I really can't get it anymore even with this roller cover.
32 right now.
I'll do the math afterward. This isn't as big as that.
No, but the other one was 40 something. You're probably 7/8. Yeah.
That was 66 feet. This is maybe 45, 50.
45.
I mean, if you're happy, I'm happy. It'll stick to that. You want to go heavier?
I'm just going to use them.
The base is so black. It looks really thin, but it's really not that thin.
Yeah, it does.
No, but where you've got it thicker, it definitely it's working a little bit better.
Well, plus I filled the roller over on that side.
Yeah.
So it's pleasant.
I think when you do it a long, you'll be done.
You want me to do a long one too?
When you twist.
All right. I'll do it from this side.
And also, this is a 9-inch roller. Usually, you're going to be using the wider roller, so you reduce your streaking by 50% immediately.
Yeah,
you want always say like airplane it too to keep that roll.
Yeah, when you can. Yeah, 18-inch roller. A lot of people don't like spending money for it, but they are so nice.
Oh yeah,
so convenient, so fast.
I sell some of my epoxy guys. Their Worcester makes these little plastic things that go on the side of the roller, so it gives you a more even gauge.
They're nice.
Gauge rate for rollers.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a great invention.
Yeah, and it's so cheap.
And you know what it is? It's good for, like, I did a demo with it because the guys from Worcester sent me the kit, and I put it on social media, and a lot of guys were like, you know, it's great for beginners. After that, you know, once you understand how to do it, you're fine, but I think it's great because you don't understand you don't know what a mill is until you
if you
do
got
some
some
floors.
experienced guys.
Yeah,
you ever done a
that's what I'm saying.
And again, you want to remove all visible pumpkin.
Is that what that color is, pumpkin?
No. It's hazelnut, but
Oh yeah, I like it.
over the black, it definitely looks pumpkiny because it's so dark under there. If you were doing a sparse broadcast, a color like that would at least give it something.
And some areas might require you to take a handful and kind of drizzle the edge. But what you're trying to avoid is ever having anybody throw it like this at the floor. If you've never done it before, the error in throwing it at the floor is when it hits that wet material, it can mound it up. And what you don't want to create is, pushes that material. That's why you're always throwing it up in the air. And it's not that it must go to hit, some guys say hit the ceiling. It's not that, it's just you're trying to avoid the tendency of throwing it at it. Yeah, it'd be difficult. But you know, when you get into corners and along walls, sometimes you just drizzle it out of your hand. It's fine. You just don't want to pile it.
If there's a ceiling fan, make sure it's off.
That actually helps. It turns your 1/4 inch into 1/8 inch like that. Oh, that's the other thing too, is if you do, I mean, people say you can recycle it, and I believe you can, but if you control your body coat thickness, you won't have to use a lot of extra material. They recommend 8 to 12 square feet a pound for this stuff, and I did that over there, and I weighted before I did it over the space it covered, and I was at 15 feet a pound, and I have no issue with coverage. But the reason is because when we measure this stuff out, we put it down at the right mill thickness. We don't need more flake to be buried into the thicker resin. By controlling the resin thickness, we don't waste the flake. Some guys like to recycle it. When you do it this way, the right way, you really shouldn't have much to recycle, and I'm not a fan of recycling because usually it gets so mishandled that it's contaminated, and your 1/4 inch now turns into 1/8 inch. So now you don't have a true size of flake. And for the money you're saving and the labor you spend to try to recycle, your labor costs more than the recycling. So if you control your mill thickness of your body coat, you control the consumption of the flake.
You guys, once you're done with this and it dries, you scrape it with the scraper?
Yep. Yeah, you scrape it because any ones that sit a little angled will be sharp and sticking through. Not only sharp, but it also weakens the top coat because it protrudes through.
Yeah, we always hit it with a quick to get the access.
I like we scrape it. Oh, and then you scrape it, yeah. If you do this right though, and you just get it the right thickness, I've just scraped it and you just clap a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you've completely attached it to whatever resin there was. But when it's real thick, that's when it almost is like it has to build. And then you get all kinds of material that has to be scraped off. Because all different angles.
Can you like lay a piece of plywood and flatten it, make it flat?
No.
To step on?
No, and there's no need. When you scrape it, it's just vinyl. So when you scrape it, when it's being held rigidly by the material, it just shears right off. All that was done exactly that way.
And if there are some guys, if they want it smoother, they'll go over with the machine. And they'll take it perfectly smooth, and what that does, it really reduces the amount of top coat that you do. Some people go, I like flake, but I want it to be really smooth, so then you hit it with your machine. And you can get it flat.
You need more. Want me to do it?
I'll throw some.
Go ahead.
Anyone
Anywhere you can see shiny, there could be flakes sticking to it. The color background is just for the spots where we can't help the fact that the flake didn't lay over one another perfectly. And so any bare spots, we're not looking at concrete. We're looking at a color that complements the flake that doesn't cover it. So we want to 100% cover it so we don't see any shiny spots.
And that's one advantage of using a color that is different than any color in there, because then you can see it. Where if you're doing white and black flake and you have a white background, you have to look for gloss. You can't look for a color differential.
Yeah, we have the benefit of really good light in here too. In a garage or a basement, don't have this light. It's awful. It's very hard to see the shiny spots in a basement or a garage. Yeah,
Oh, there and there.
If you can hang an LED, like I got some LEDs from Home Depot. If you can hang them in the back of the garage, then you have to control the power. It's just a matter of mapping out ahead of time.
Over in here,
If your power's over here, your cord's strung up, and your light is at the back of the garage because you're working your way out the door. You got all the light at your back. You can't see the gloss. So if you hang a light and it's real harsh, it'll show you all the shiny spots. And then as you walk out, unplug the light and just leave it be until it's dry. Then you don't have to worry about the light staying on. But it's very hard to see it in the garage when you're working with the light at your back. And you'll see it when it's all done and you come back, you'll see it immediately. And there's really no cheap, easy way to fix it.
It's pretty good. Real good. I like it in a bucket.
Yeah,
It's
your
easier.
box is tough.
Yeah.
Just go
The next step in the process with the full flake, if anybody wants to check, it's already got enough strength to it where when we scrape at it, it's not running, it's not moving. If it was epoxy, of course, it would still be wet. Because it's polyaspartic, it's fully bonded to it. The next thing that we'll do is take the vacuum and vacuum off the excess. An alternative is, if you have enough on here, you could, some guys will take a leaf blower and actually blow this if I'm in a garage or somewhere. So what we'll do is go ahead and vacuum the excess flake that's on here, being that this is all loose. I'm gonna vacuum the excess off before I scrape it. And then on this one, we'll just vacuum off the excess sand. Have to scrape it down. If you run your hands across this, you'll actually feel the edges of the flake that's sticking up pretty sharp. And what we don't want is we don't want to have those sharp edges poking up, so that when we put the seal coat over the top, they're actually protruding through that coating. It'd be rough on the feet, but also it would compromise the top coat. We don't want that vinyl chip, which is very weak. It's not a strong material at all. It needs to actually be closed in or sealed in with that polyaspartic or top coat. If we have any of it poking through, it's a liability. It'll break off with traffic, and then it also can undermine the coating that's over the top. So right now it's really rough. Using a scraper, the idea is to just go along and break it off. So that's why I don't need to be very careful or take my time to vacuum it very well, because I'm gonna go over this with a vacuum again once I break any of the ones that are loose, free, and then also when I break off the sharp edges that are sticking up. With regard to the way to scrape it, there are plastic ones that can be bought. I like a metal one because to me it's a better way to scrape it. It doesn't bounce across the floor. It will actually shear it off much better than a plastic one will. But when the floor is this young, if I go in too aggressive, it's very possible I'm going to dig in and I'm going to do damage. So if I'm trying to do this in one day, I'm definitely going to be more careful about the way I'm scraping it, which is to hold it at a low angle and just kind of let the weight of the tool do the work and just push through. Because if I go like this, it'll go in because it's still soft. If it's the next day, I can go as aggressive as I want. I won't hurt it. But same day, you got to be a little more careful. And if it doesn't support the scraping, so if I'm trying despite my best effort and it's constantly jamming in because it's still too soft, just stop and wait till it's harder. Give it some time to get hard again, or harder than it is, because you don't want to miss this step and leave any of those poking up, because like I said, it will undermine or compromise that top coat and its durability. I'm putting a decent amount of pressure, but because I'm at such a low angle, I can. I want to do a better job of vacuuming, because once this is done, I'm ready for my seal coat. So I want all the extra loose debris that's on here to be removed. There'll always be a little bit left behind, but it's going to get trapped in the sealer anyway. But make the best effort to get all of the loose flakes that can possibly be removed, taken away from the surface. Once we get the polyaspartic clear mixed up, we use a window squeegee. There's a lot of different ways to deliver it. I like a window squeegee and then back roll it. But basically we just take and put that coating over the top of it. It'll seal it in. It'll make it resilient, make it stain proof. Some people do 2 coats. It really depends on what's required for the environment. Residential, 1 coat honestly is good enough. Commercial, 2 coats I think is mandatory, because they're going to abuse a floor in commercial environment much more than a residential garage or a basement. But That's pretty much it. Other than the top coat, that's how that system's done. This system that doesn't have a name, and it's dry enough to handle at least the vacuum wand. And again, if it starts to smear or it starts to pull, or, you know, we know when we put it down, we know we put it down before that. But if we're, you know, vacuuming or dusting it off, and this stuff's moving around, then obviously we're not going to scrape it, but we aren't going to do anything until we know it has enough rigidity and enough shore hardness that it's actually bonded together. Because if we vacuum and start moving stuff around, we're going to screw it up. There's no way to fix that. This is pretty easy, because if you remember, we did the broadcast with the flake in a sparse way so that it's variable, and then the sand is the rejection. So that means anything on top that vacuums up never was stuck, and that's good. Whatever is still there, that's what we're going to end up sealing over. This floor, again, because we keep harping on the sensitivity of how thin it is and how little it masks and how much it shows everything, we want to make sure that we get all the excess quartz off, because any little bit that's left behind, any little trail that's left behind, when you seal it, for some reason this stuff is notorious that you will see every little imperfection in the floor. So when we vacuum it, we want to make sure we meticulously clean it up, all that sand that's not stuck, and also clean shoes. This stuff, it's not forgiving to use at all. You want to make sure you don't get it dirty, because once you get it dirty, it's like getting sandpaper dirty. You walk in with something on your shoes on it, and you get sandpaper dirty, it's very difficult to clean sandpaper. And once you seal it, you think it'll blend in, it won't. All it'll do is hide, it'll just encapsulate that footprint. And then you gotta deal with that. So, but I'll vacuum it off, you'll see what we have. But it's a nice effect, and it's a nice spin on, you know, a basic sparse coating, or a sparse flake. So it looks like, if you do it right, I mean, it almost looks like a pure sheet goods, like a rolled floor. The color combination is really the key. Making sure you choose colors that are going to coordinate well together. As far as the base coat, how much you want the chip to pop, how much chip you want to put in. You can do twice as much flake if you want, and then quartz, wherever the flake is not, is where the quartz will be. So they can't both be in the same space. So it's very customizable. Yeah, I did my mom's with a brown and a light, like a buff sand. It looked great. The contrast is nice. But you can get wild or just through that light color quartz. So if you went with a lighter color, it'd be fine, but then you got to make sure your whole canvas is muted out with that color. Otherwise, you will see the dark and light if there's a variation. There's really no limit to what you can put together. The last one I did was a white with a blue flake. It showed pretty nice. It didn't, or it was a gray with a blue flake. It showed good. I don't know if it's a color combination that everybody would like, but you could definitely, from standing here, you could see even less chip than what we have here because of the pure blue. It just popped out more. So it's a matter of how bold you want it to be. You know, you make up samples and just make it easy. If you were to offer it, make up samples and offer it as, you know, here's 5 different types of color combinations. And if you know ahead of time what works together very easily, what hides very well, what doesn't require an extra body coat or a masking coat, then you'll be prepared for whatever that cost would be. Because every time you touch the floor, you got labor and you got material.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks.
Make millions too.
It adds up. Oh, tens of millions.
I'll try to pull it back and forth.
You don't have to worry about getting right to the edge. I'll roll that.
It soaks in. So.
Yeah, the quartz is absorbent. Yeah. You just, I don't know. Daryl, do you know how to calculate it? 'Cause they were asking me as far as consumption. I really don't know on quartz.
Of course, it's just I always more than it's suggested because you don't really know. I mean, you can see how much it's soaked right in.
Yeah, it's drinking it up.
It's nearly twice as much with quartz.
Well, right.
Yeah.
It all depends on how much you want to bury the quartz and remove the tactile.
In fact, in some clients, if it's too aggressive, they don't want you to come back a second time to mellow it out.
Yeah, Don said he likes to do 2 coats.
Pour a little more, Don.
Are you starting with your roller's still pretty dry, isn't it?
No, I soaked it.
Oh, you did?
Nice.
What's your recoat window on this?
24 hours. Right?
Oh,
Minimum or maximum? You mean maximum? You mean open time, or you mean until you can get back on it?
So you could the
Bare minimum?
recoat window from the long,
90 minutes?
the longest you can go before you recoat it.
Oh, 24 hours.
I'd say 24.
Yeah, maximum 24 hours. Yeah.
That is very unique looking though, I like it.
It's, you know what though, I'm dragging it about like I normally would, except it's drinking it up.
Yeah.
The second coat's going to stack a little bit more.
If we're doing a second one, then
Okay, if you're doing a second one, then I want to go back over and try and get more open. We're good.
Yeah, I don't know how you calculate this crap.
Over sand,
Over sand.
well, I calculate everything probably 100 square foot a gallon and no less.
And then, yeah,
Minimum, otherwise it starts to fog up and turn white on you.
yes, if it gets too much foam.
Until you're a prep guy because you can't run a squeegee.
Dude, I'm working in a 5-foot area. What do you want me to do? Throw me a little more in there.
I know you.
I did all that, you know, and it was free of criticism. It was, nobody was here. It was so nice.
Hey, when we dump this, we want to be wet on wet. We don't
Yeah,
want
I was
the
kind of,
gap
I
there.
was wondering about that.
You squeegee, it should give a light tap. When you're drawing it in one direction.
Yeah.
Let's all work together too and not apart.
When are we gonna start that? Tomorrow?
Hurry up, it's getting tacky. Roller's getting hot.
It's not. You could even dump some more in there and roll it.
I think
Yeah, it's
might
pretty.
as well use the rest of this.
I would. You're not gonna hurt
Dump her,
anything.
dump her down there in the whatever.
You're gonna hide this, or want me to just drop it
I'll
off?
hide it.
It's a lot. You want to push it that way. So this window squeegee, which is very fancy, is about $8. It's not going to last very long. There's no reason to clean it. Just throw it out. 'Cause it's $8, but it works really well for flake, in my opinion.
I didn't buy it.
You can start to hear it snap now.
Pull it, snap a little bit.
Or such a little amount. Someone said here.